My favorite kids are those kids that are brighter than I am. In fact, I like people who are brighter than I am and will still laugh. It's been a really good day so far. I have an idea for you because TED is all about ideas worth spreading. And this is the idea. See, excellence breeds excellence. But it's not an easy principle to believe in. You know, it seems easy because on the surface, most things are easy. But when you unpeel that onion, you come into definitions and discussions and issues you never thought were there. I feel sorry for the Academy as it chooses the movie of the year. Because I love movies. And my favorite, the movie this year, only won 5 Academy Awards, Oscars, right? I love it not because of the story and not because of Scorsese. I love it because of the precision in detail. I love it because every single part of this movie, from the story to the casting, is done with such great thought. What would the world of film be without Scorsese, or this film, or the artist? What would our world of film be like? What would our world be without Steve Jobs or Apple? You remember Steve Jobs standing up on this stage, holding that phone, iPhone, and he was going like this and going like this and ordering pizza? You remember that? And I said, who needs it? What is that? I can't do it. How much does it cost? How many of you have an iPhone? How many of you know how to use it? How many of you really would rather be downtown at Apple looking at the new iPad? Yeah. How many are waiting for the next generation? How many have a phone that's just as smart or maybe smarter than that iPhone? Because you know what? It's a natural that excellence is infectious. It's automatic, but it's not easy and it's not predictable. So this is really what I want to talk about today, because this is my passion. When you have a passion, you no longer have a job. You don't even get to retire because you're working on that passion. And this is what I've come to believe, that if your program for the brightest kids in your school is really good, absolutely state-of-the-art, absolutely current, absolutely the best it can be, you will raise the program in the entire school. Do you believe that? I do. I believe that. I talk to administrators every day and teachers and people just like you, parents, trying to convince them they should have a gifted program. Well, we all agree, as long as the onion is intact, we all agree that we want an excellent school program. We want rigor and challenge. We want kids who can think, that work hard. We want kids that have a healthy self-image. But we don't all want a gifted program. But I know the secret that will convince them to do it. And it is that if, in fact, you have a really good program for gifted, you're going to raise the standard and the program in the entire school. See, there's a paradigm shift going on. Because the programs for gifted today that are really good are nothing like the program you were in or you should have been in. They're new. Because we've cast the net a little further. We're not just looking for those kids that have an under 132 IQ and above. We're looking for kids who are bilingual and bright. We're looking for those kids that are multicultural and bright. We're looking for those kids that are twice exceptional. Have you seen Temple Grandin? Autistic and incredibly visually intelligent. We're looking for kids who are leaders, who are artists and bright. And we're even looking for those kids who are underachieving and really bright. And we put them all in a room, and the product and the discussion and the context is rich. We want it to go beyond that room. But let me tell you about good programs, because what and how we teach has changed. We no longer tell kids they're gifted. We don't even want to name the program the gifted program, because we're paying attention to Carol Dweck. And Carol says this: if you tell those kids they're bright and gifted, their brain, because it's all about the brain. When you teach kids that are bright, it's all about the brain. That brain will work so diligently to take care of that label that it will forget to find the energy to try new things or possibly fail or get out there and risk. kids not with a fixed mindset, but a growth mindset, where they say, I'll try that. That sounds good. I can't believe we got to do this. What's next? That's a growth mindset. So we don't tell them they're bright, and we don't tell them they're gifted anymore. In fact, we don't tell them it's going to be easy. We don't tell them they can do it fast because they're smart, because we pay attention to the talent code. And Dan Coyle says, what kids need to understand is that something called the myelin sheath, and that surrounds those conductors in your brain. And the thicker and the better that myelin sheath, the quicker that impulse goes through that brain, and the more accurate that impulse goes. But you know what? You don't get that myelin sheath by wishing, and you didn't get it when you came into the world. What it takes is deep practice, not just putting in the time, but that practice is on the edge of your knowledge, on the edge of your ability, on the edge of where you are in playing that song. And you know what else Dan Coyle tells us? You got to have a mentor or a teacher or a director or someone that's really good. So when you're doing that deep practice, they're giving you information that helps you be better. That's how we develop the myelin sheath. And we have a little rule in Gifted now. It's called the 10,000 hours. Until you've spent the 10,000 hours, don't claim you've gotten there. It's just a metaphor of time. But I ask it all the time. I say to myself, you going to do it right? You're going to do it well? Because it's going to take you 10,000 hours. The programs for Gifted are different. We used to spend our whole time looking for advanced concept and content. Advanced. But you know what? It's at my fingertips. When I'm going to teach tomorrow, I can order that textbook tonight. It's on my computer electronically, and I can adjust that textbook. I can add, delete, change the format, switch around the content, and then tomorrow I can have my kids download it on their iPad. And that's going to be cheaper than buying the textbooks that are going to tether me for 10 years. And those kids can interact with the author, interact with those experts, they can manipulate those graphs, they can change those diagrams, and they can travel that virtual reality of what they're studying about. Advanced content is at our fingertips. We don't have to look for it. We have a search engine. But I'm going to tell you, those kids honestly think that that search engine puts them on a freeway entrance, and they are in the fast lane. And they need the surveillance and the interaction that they use that computer well, or they may slip into the #1 block that works against our kids as freshmen. And that's called computer addiction. What we want is our kids who know when and how to use that computer, that they understand authenticity, copyright, sources, opposite of opinions, that they collaborate still on the outside of the computer to understand what's inside. We don't want our kids to be in a situation where they can go to the best website they can find and find a format that makes their work look so good and so professional that it doesn't reflect any thought or work. The computer can be an asset, or it can stand in the way of what our most creatively gifted kids, bright kids, can do. So they want to be on that highway, because you know what? They're going new places we know nothing about. They're going to Facebook and Tanzania and beyond. I was in San Francisco for a solid month with a group of kids working in inner city. It was absolutely the joy of my life, so much fun. And we had an opportunity to visit Facebook. And I said, can I come? And they said, you're too old. And I said, I'm coming anyway. And when I got there, I was absolutely blown away, because Facebook is not a building. It is, in fact, a campus. And we were in number 16. And I looked around, and there was no one like me. No one. I said, where are those people over 40? And they said, they're already retired and in Hawaii. So I watched those 40-year-old workers, and you know, 40 and under, they were going on their skateboard from desk to department and out to the cafeteria 24/7. That had a cuisine from around the world and served wine and beer. This is the workplace, I said. And on the way back, I watched them play speed chess. And then over here, they were playing pool. And then they were working out. Do you know Facebook within 50 miles will pick you up if you work there and take you home, and you choose your hours and how long you stay? This is an unbelievable place to me. But with all those amenities, there is a time clock on their desk that at that point, when that's done, their team must present the process or product they're responsible for, and it better be right. How do I train kids to have the skills to work in that sort of workplace? The new digs, they call it. You know how I do it? I put it right in the center of the discussion with my gifted kids in their program. We also are under construction, folks. We're going places we didn't know we were going to go. Facebook is only one. And when we get there, it may be Tanzania. We got a group of kids right now, today, in Tanzania. Some of them are ed majors, some of them are business majors, and they're sitting next to kids and teaching them to read and teaching them to compute and write in Swahili, for goodness sakes. And they dance with the villagers at night, and they talk about their health needs, and they talk about their economic predicament, and they think about how can we get what we need, and how do we maintain it? Where are we going? These kids are beyond our border, beyond our language, beyond their comfort zone. What kind of collaboration skills and relationship skills will these kids need? And you know what they're doing right now today? They are figuring out a way to get solar lights to put up so those kids can read into the evening under the nets that Bill Gates sent them. The world of tomorrow needs to be in the classroom of today for discussion. Those programs today that are cutting edge, state of the art, are so much more advanced than you could possibly imagine. And you know the joy of all this is it will work to benefit the entire school. I sent out an email, a mass email to the teachers that I know that are the best, and to the coordinators and to the experts. I said, give me examples of where this is working. And I got a ream of emails, just what I don't want, a ream of emails, and it was my best read of the week. And I picked a story, because everyone loves to tell their story. And I picked a story that is so close it's on your doorstep. This is downtown Spokane. This is 1,000 students. And they're from an area that's very, very mixed, a variety of kids. And a principal, brand new principal, walked into that school and said, I got great teachers, I've got a great bag of kids, but I don't have rigor. See, I don't have rigor. And he learned at Harvard when he did his dissertation that if you want to prepare those kids for that world out there, they got to have rigor in coursework, all of them. So I said, the first thing I did, I looked at my gifted program, my AP program, could have been IB, and I said, you don't have to have a prerequisite to take these classes. Let all the kids take the class. Oh my goodness, he said, the opposition blew me away. Teachers, parents, kids. Can't do that. Well, I did it. And you know what? Just the other day, a young woman dropped into my office and she said, you know what, Dr. Gehring, you don't remember me, but I'm Kelsey. I was the one that you registered into AP. He registered into AP. What's he doing during his day? He registered her into AP, history. She said, after 3 weeks, I came to you and I said, I can't do this. It's too hard for me. And he said, I will help you. And she said, I started going to those cafe discussions and those afternoon sessions. You even assigned me a tutor. And you know what, Dr. Gehring? I passed AP history, and I passed AP biology, and I am in a college, and I'm getting all B's. And that's just not what our family usually does. It can happen, folks. It can happen. And there's a little team of band of runners down there. You know about these kids? And this little band of runners from a school of 1,000 has placed 1st, 6th, and 7th in the last 3 years at a national meet that culminates in the United States of America of only about 35,000 high school kids. And they're placing. So I went to them, I said, how do you do it? How do you get these guys to wear those little tiny shorts? How do you get them to drink chocolate milk? What do you tell them? And those coaches said this. I expected, relationship. I expected hard work, maybe the 10,000-hour rule. Maybe they'd mention mileage sheath and I'd feel really good, but they didn't. They told me something that totally blew me away. They said, you know what? There's a school in our district, and they had a new coach 15 years ago. And he took Meade High School to nationals in 2 years. And everyone in our district made a decision. You going to go for it, or are you going to lose? It's now 50 years later, and the story of this team is not about them. It's that there are 4 high schools from Spokane in that meet in the last 5 years. Excellence breeds excellence. And it is infectious, and it's automatic. It will happen. So what I want to do is get you to look at the transfer factor and say, how can I do that in my school? How can I do it in my business or my organization? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's not easy. I had a principal, so smart. Allison is so smart. She looked me in the eye and she said, hey, is this automatic? And is it cheap? And I said, no, it's expensive. It'll take time and intensive labor. But if you get on that road, you can do it. But this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to pay attention to the road signs. And this is the first one. There's a little bit of sleeping policemen. You know about those? Sleeping policemen? Yeah, speed bump. And it's a caution sign because you got to remember this, folks. Number one, all kids aren't gifted. And if you get mixed up here, you're going to think that you water down this great program you got going for those brightest kids. Or you're going to infuse it so much to get the watershed theory that you're going to lose what we want to do here. You with me? Because gifted isn't in the assignment. It's in you. I could tell you, you don't get to leave here unless you write a poem. And really, there'd only be 4 or 5 we'd published. But it didn't hurt for you to write the poem, and it certainly doesn't hurt for you to know about poetry. Gifted is in the student. What are we doing so that our brightest and our best still have qualitatively different opportunities in that school? There's a stop sign, you got to stop dead. And this is what you have to remember if you're going to do this. Number one, the most important variable in that school. You think it's the principal, you think it's the kids, it's not. It's the teacher. If you're going to invest, it's in the teacher. Because when they're on board, and they're upbeat, and they're competent, ready to go, things will happen. If they're not, that program will fail, and you'll never know why. It's the teacher. And you know what they know about? My favorite part of this talk. They know about moving elephants. Have you ever tried to move an elephant in a direction they didn't want to go? Well, you know what the Heath brothers say? They say in their book, Switch, which is how to get people to move to what they don't want to move to. So you've got to climb up on the back of the elephant. Such a great image. And then you've got to understand motivation to get that animal to move. It takes relationship. It takes trust. Daniel Pink steps in and wrote a book that said Drive. And he said, here's what you got to know when you're on that elephant, you want to move it. He says, you got to understand that in a 2.0 world, I can swat that elephant and I can give that a carrot and there's hope. But in a 3.0 world with bright people like you, that motivation just doesn't go very far. What you really need to do is give that elephant or your folks or your kids a task which is valuable, purposeful, and has meaning. That's called purpose. And then you got to give them a task that's going to change the school or the organization or your business. And it's going to change them, and they're going to know more and be better at what they do. That's called mastery. And the third thing is just delightful. North Central is not Meade, nor is it Central Valley, nor is it Lewis and Clark. What you want is people who say you can always tell a kid that came from St. George's. You can always tell. Because you need to do it your own way. You need to take your skills and make this work, and that's called autonomy. And then you're through the stop sign, and what I need to tell you is you'll have roadblocks. Roadblocks will make you stronger. You have that parent that criticizes, listen to them. They may be right, you know. You've got that strategy's not working, listen to the kids. They may be right, you know. Because if you use these roadblocks, you will get stronger, and you'll get better at what you do, and everybody's going to tell you what you need to do, especially if you want to get to the open road, especially if you want to go to the future. Everybody's got something you need to buy. Everybody's got a strategy you need to use. Everybody's got something to tell you with their advice. So you got to pay attention, folks. There's no speed limit once you're in the open road and uncharted. You may need to slow down, speed up, take a side road or a detour. You may need to back up and appraise where you are. Because those road signs, when you get to that point, they're pretty interesting. But you've got some tools to use. They come right out of our gifted programming. You can read these. I don't have to explain them. Because you learn to talk, and you learn to share, and you look for new ways to do it. And so that road sign doesn't throw you. These don't throw you. A man went to a school in East LA, and he said this, I'm going to take these kids from point A to point B. I'm going to teach them calculus, and they're going to pass that calculus AP test. His name was Escalante. You remember the movie? Stand and Deliver. And he did that, and it was not easy, and there were a lot of road signs, a lot of naysayers, but he got them to the point where they passed that AP test. You know what happened? There was a roadblock because the AP board came and checked out if they were cheating. Of course, you know, we all accused them of being biased, maybe prejudiced, but I don't think that was the problem. Because if I knew a school, a high school, who was in fact never won a football game, and became city champs, I might check the age of their players and what they were doing, wouldn't you? So they simply came and said, we don't know if this is really, you've done this right. Because you know what? If you read the book, Finest Teacher in America, and you don't depend on the movie, you're going to find out that all their work shown on that AP test was just alike. They might have cheated. Escalante said, it's only a roadblock. Increase the security, take the test again, and show them you can do it. And they did. And they did pass. 3, 4s, and 5s. And those kids went on to college, got another roadblock. They don't have Escalante when they get to college. They don't have a lot of role models from East LA and kids they know from the school. But you know what? More of those kids are going to college because that happens. That happens. Escalante left teaching because of health issues. He had a heart attack, if you remember. But he didn't leave without teaching the teacher next door, who wasn't that good, how to do what he did with kids in calculus. And that teacher is producing more kids who pass the test than Escalante did. This is a powerful notion, and it fits a lot of areas. You are what you emphasize in your family, in the gym, with your kids, wherever you are. I will guarantee if those kids are not doing what we want them to do, that some adult is either modeling or allow it. I will guarantee to you. This is not easy, but we all know what we emphasize. We want rigor. We want challenge. We want kids who can think. We want kids that are emotionally healthy, like you. We want kids that are driven by the ethical decision. It won't come easily. You'll have tough decisions. But with a growth mentality, because you know what stands in the way of doing well? Being good enough. That's what stands in the way of being excellent. I challenge you. Do the very best. Create the very best conditions. Invest in your best students, in your best workers, in your best people, and you will, in fact, affect the entire organization. Know when to celebrate. And if you've got a little magic up your sleeve, don't be afraid to use it.